월드컴에듀 Elite Children's Classics
21세기 어학 전문 출판사 월드컴이 펴낸 엘리트 영어 명작 길라잡이.
World's Literary Masterpieces. The Tinder Box. A soldier was walking along the road. He had a big bag on his back and a sword by his side. "I want something to eat," he said to himself, "but I don't have any money." Just then, an old witch called him from the side of the road.
"Hello, soldier. Where are you going?"
"I am returning home now," said the soldier. "I have been to war."
"Well, you want something, don't you?"
said the old witch. "Yes, I want some money," said the soldier.
"Money?" said the old witch. "You can get a lot of money. I will tell you what to do."
"Thank you, old witch," said the soldier.
"Do you see the big tree over there?"
said the old witch. She pointed to a big tree by the roadside.
"If you climb up to the top of it, you will find a big hole. If you go down into the hole, you will come into a great hall. I will tie a rope around your waist. When you call me, I will pull you up."
"What shall I do in the hall?" asked the soldier.
"I want you to get something,"
said the old witch.
"Listen to me carefully. In the hall, more than 300 lamps are burning. You will see 3 doors. You will find the key to each door, and you can open them easily. If you open the first door and go into the room, you will see a big box. A dog sits on it. He has eyes as big as teacups. But don't be afraid of him. I will give you this cloth. Put it down on the floor. Go quickly up to the dog and bring him to the cloth. Put him on the cloth. Then open the box and take as much money as you want. It will all be copper. If you want silver, you have to go into the next room. There you will see a dog with eyes as big as mill wheels. Put him on the cloth. Then open the box and take as much silver as you want. If you want gold, you have to go into the third room. A dog sits on the money box. He has eyes as big as towers, but you don't have to fear him. He will not harm you. Put him on the cloth, then open the box and take as much gold as you want."
"Thank you," said the soldier. "That will be fine. But what do you want me to do? Do you want the money?"
"No, I don't want any money," said the old witch. "I want you to bring me an old tinder box. My grandmother forgot it when she went there."
"All right. Put the rope around my waist," said the soldier. The soldier climbed up the tree, and he found a big hole at the top of it. He went down through the hole. Then he found that he was in a great hall. As the old witch said, more than 300 lamps were burning. In the hall he saw 3 doors. He opened the first door and saw a dog with eyes as big as teacups on the box. The dog looked at him. "You are a good dog," said the soldier. He put the cloth down on the floor and put the dog on it. Then he opened the box and filled his pockets with copper coins from the box. He shut the box and put the dog back on it again. Then he went into the second room. When he opened the door, he saw a dog with eyes as big as mill wheels on the box. The dog looked at him. "You shouldn't glance at me in such a way," said the soldier. He put the dog on the cloth and opened the box. It was full of silver coins, so he threw away all his copper coins and filled his pockets and his bag with silver coins. Then he went into the third room, and he saw a dog with eyes as big as the towers on the box. They were going round and round in its head like wheels. The dog looked at him. "Good evening," said the soldier. "I am glad to see you. I have never seen a dog like you before. You are a wonderful dog." He gazed at the dog for a while. Then he put him on the cloth and opened the box. "What a lot of gold!" he cried. "I can buy all the cakes, tin soldiers, and rocking horses in the world. I can even buy all of Copenhagen." He threw away all the silver coins at once and filled his pockets, his bag, his cap, and his boots with gold coins. He then put the dog back on the box again and shut the door of the room. Then he called the old witch in a loud voice. "Pull me up, old witch."
Have you got my tinder box?
asked the old witch. "No, I have not," said the soldier.
You must bring it to me, or I will not pull you up,
said the old witch. The soldier went back and got it. The old witch pulled him up, and he was back on the road again. "What do you want to do with this tinder box?" said the soldier.
There is no need to tell you about it,
said the old witch.
You have got your money. Now give me my tinder box.
"If you don't tell me, I will kill you," said the soldier. But the old witch would not tell him how to use the tinder box. So he drew his sword and cut off her head. He took the money and the tinder box and went to a town. When he got to the big, beautiful town, it was quite dark. He went into a fancy hotel. He asked for the best room in the hotel, and he told the servant to bring him the nicest food for dinner. The servant suspected that the soldier's clothes and boots were too old and dirty for a rich gentleman. The next day, he went to the shop near the hotel and bought the most beautiful clothes and boots. Now the soldier was a fine gentleman. The people in the town thought that he must be very rich. They came to him and told him many things about the town. One day, an old man asked him,
"Have you ever heard about the princess?"
"No, I have not. But where and when can I see her?" asked the soldier.
"She is shut up in a big palace with a lot of high walls and towers around it. Nobody but the king can see her."
"Why is she shut up in that way?" asked the soldier.
"Because a wizard has told the king that the princess will marry a poor soldier,"
said the old man.
"But the king does not want to let her marry a poor soldier."
"I want to see her very much," thought the soldier, but of course he could not see her. All the time the soldier led a happy life. He went to the theater and drove in the parks. He gave a lot of money to the poor. At last he spent all his money. He had to leave his beautiful room, so he moved to a tiny room under the roof. He had to cook his own food and clean his own boots. No friends came to see him, and they did not ask him to come to their homes anymore. He could not even buy a candle. Suddenly, he remembered that there was a candle in the tinder box. He took out the tinder box and the candle. When he struck the flint, a few sparks flew from it, and at the same time the door opened, and the dog with eyes as big as teacups stood in front of him.
"What do you want, my master?"
said the dog.
"I want some money," he said to the dog. "Bring me some money."
The dog went away, and soon he came back again with a big box of copper coins in his mouth. The soldier thought for a while and said,
"Now I know that it is a wonderful tinder box. If I strike the flint once, the dog with eyes as big as teacups will appear and bring me copper coins. If I strike it twice, the dog with eyes as big as mill wheels will appear and bring me silver coins. If I strike it 3 times, the dog with eyes as big as towers will appear and bring me gold coins."
The soldier became very rich again. He bought beautiful clothes and boots. He lived in a big, nice house. All his friends came back to him. "We have not seen you for a long time," they said. "We are very fond of you." But the soldier was not glad to see his friends any more. One day he thought of the poor princess. He said to himself,
"The princess has been shut up in the palace. She cannot go out. She cannot speak to anyone. What a poor princess she is! Everyone says that she is very lovely. I want to see her."
Then he took out his tinder box and struck the flint. The dog with eyes as big as teacups stood in front of him.
"Sorry, I know that it is the middle of the night," said the soldier, "but I wish to see the princess just for a minute. Will you bring her to me?"
The dog went out of the house, and soon he came back again with the princess. She lay on the dog's back, fast asleep. She was very lovely. The soldier was very glad to see her and kissed her hand. Then the dog ran back with her again. The next morning, when the king and the queen were having their breakfast, the princess told them about her dream. "I had an interesting dream," said the princess. "I rode on a big dog. I met a soldier, and he kissed my hand."
"That is a strange dream," said the queen.
That night, the queen said to one of the old ladies of the palace,
"Stay up beside the princess and see if it is really a dream."
The soldier wanted to see the lovely princess again, so he sent the dog to bring her. But this time, the old lady ran after the dog and the princess. She saw them go into the soldier's house. "I know what to do," she said to herself. She took out a piece of chalk and drew a big cross on the door of the house and went back to the palace. Soon the dog took the princess back to the palace, but when he came back, he found the cross on the door of the soldier's house. He thought of a good idea. He took out a piece of chalk and drew crosses on all the doors in the town. Early the next morning, the king, the queen, the old lady, and all the officers went to the town. They looked for the house with the cross on the door.
"Here is the house,"
cried the king.
"No, here it is. It must be the house,"
said the queen, and she pointed to another door with a cross on it. "No, look at this door. Here is a cross too," they all cried. "There are crosses on all the doors." They knew that they could not find the house. The queen was a very clever woman. She made a nice little bag out of cloth. She put white flour in it and tied it to the princess's waist. Then she cut a little hole in the bag.
"Now, when she goes out, the white flour will fall from the bag little by little. Then it will lead us to the house."
That night, the dog came again. He put the princess on his back and ran off with her to the soldier. He did not notice that the flower fell all the way from the palace to the soldier's house. The next morning, the king and the queen easily found the soldier's house. They took the soldier away and shut him up in a small room in the palace. It was dark in the room.
"We will kill you tomorrow,"
said the king, and he went away.
"I have forgotten my tinder box in my room,"
the soldier said to himself,
"so I cannot call the dog to help me."
The next morning, he looked out of the window and he saw the whole town going to the wide open space in front of the palace to see him killed. He happened to see a little boy coming toward the palace, and he spoke to the boy.
"Good morning, little boy," cried the soldier. "Do you want any money?"
Yes, I do,
said the boy. The soldier said,
"Then go to my room and bring me my tinder box, and I will give you some money."
The little boy was glad to hear that, so he ran to the soldier's house for the tinder box and brought it to the soldier. The soldier gave him some money. Then the officers brought the soldier to the open space where a big gallows was set up. The king, the queen, all the officers, and a great many people stood around it.
"You are a bad soldier," shouted the king. "We will kill you."
The soldier climbed up to the top of the ladder. When the officers tried to put the rope around his neck, he took out his tinder box and struck the flint once, twice, 3 times. 3 dogs stood in front of him.
"Help me!" cried the soldier. "They are going to kill me!"
The 3 dogs flew at the officers and threw them high up into the air, so they all fell down to the ground and died.
"Don't kill me!"
cried the king, but the dogs would not listen to him, and they threw the king and the queen high up into the air too. All the people were frightened and shouted, "Good soldier, you are our king!" They put the soldier in the king's coach and took him to the palace. Then the soldier married the lovely princess, and they lived happily for many years.
This is the end of Side A. Please turn to Side B.
The Wild Swans. Once there lived a king with his 11 sons and 1 daughter. The daughter's name was Eliza. They lived happily in a beautiful palace. The palace had a beautiful garden. One day their mother died, and the king married a new queen. The children soon knew that she was a bad woman. On the wedding day, they were served a lot of nice things to eat. "May we have some of those nice things?" asked the children. "You may eat this," said the queen, and she gave them some stones and some dust instead of nice food. A few days later, the queen sent Eliza to a poor farmhouse. It was far away in the country. The queen shut her up in the farmhouse. After that, she said to the king, "Your 11 sons are very bad boys. May I send them away?" The king was quite surprised to hear that, but he believed that his queen was a good woman. So he said,
"If you think they are so bad, you may send them away."
Then the queen changed the 11 sons into 11 wild swans. They could not speak any more.
Fly away to another country, said the evil queen. Work hard for your food.
The 11 wild swans flew out of the windows of the palace up into the sky. They flew over the mountains and the rivers. At last they came to a great forest near the sea. Poor Eliza wanted to see her 11 brothers, and so she asked the birds and the flowers in the garden, "Where are my brothers? I want to hear them. I want to see their faces." When Eliza was 15 years old, the king told her to come back to the palace. She was very happy to hear that, so she went back to the palace. When the queen saw Eliza, she was very angry. She didn't want Eliza to see the king and told her,
Your face and hands are very dirty. You had better wash them before you go to see your father.
The queen took her to the bathroom. The water was ready there. When Eliza washed her face, it became brown and ugly. There was no mirror in the bathroom, so she could not see her face. Then she went to the king. When the king saw Eliza, he shouted,
"No, you are not Eliza. You don't look like Eliza at all."
Eliza was driven out of the palace. She walked along the paths and over the fields all day. She didn't know where to go. She was very sad, and she wanted to see her brothers. "I will go on," she said to herself, "and I will be able to see them." At last she came to the great forest near the sea. Night came. She could not walk any more, so she slept under a tree. She dreamed of her brothers that night. When she awoke, the sun was already high in the sky. The smell of beautiful flowers and trees was about her. She heard the sound of running water. A little river was in front of her. She went down to the river to drink some water. When she saw her own face in the water, she was very surprised. Her face was so brown and ugly. But when she washed her face in the water, it became quite beautiful again. So she took off all her clothes and went into the water to wash herself. Then she put on her clothes again and walked on through the forest. She walked all day, and she was very tired. When night came, she lay on the grass and slept. The next morning, she woke up early and started walking again. She walked for a while, and she saw an old woman with some berries in her basket, and the old woman gave some of them to her.
What are you doing here in this great forest?
Asked the old woman. I am looking for my 11 brothers, said Eliza. Have you seen 11 princes in the forest?
11 princes?
Said the old woman.
No, I have not, but I saw 11 swans yesterday. They had golden crowns on their heads. They swam down the river near here.
The old woman led Eliza to the river. Then Eliza said goodbye to the old woman and walked along the side of the river. At last she reached the sea. The sun was going down. Suddenly she heard a noise and saw 11 wild swans with golden crowns on their heads. They were flying towards the land over the sea. Eliza climbed up to the bank quickly and hid herself behind a tree. The swans came down very near to her. Just as the sun went down, the 11 wild swans became 11 young princes. "Oh, my brothers!" she shouted. She called their names and ran into their arms. Her brothers were very happy to see their little sister. Their joy was beyond description. Then they said, "You have grown very tall." "You are very beautiful, Eliza. We are very happy to see you." "I am very happy to see you too. I have been looking for you," said Eliza. The eldest brother said, "We cannot stay here. We must fly away when the sun comes up. We will fly over the sea to our beautiful land. Come with us. Our wings are strong enough to carry you over the sea." "Yes, take me with you," said Eliza. Her brother said, "We will make a net tonight and take you over the sea in it. We must go quickly. When the sun goes down, we will become men again. If we are above the sea then, we will fall down into the water." They worked hard that night. Just before daylight, they finished making the net. Eliza sat in it. When the sun came up, her brothers changed into wild swans again. They took the net and flew up over the sea. Eliza looked down and could see nothing but sea. They flew over the sea all day. The sun was going down. At last they saw a beautiful strip of land with blue mountains. "Quickly, quickly, the sun will soon be down," cried Eliza. They got to the foot of a mountain. "Is this your land?" asked Eliza. "Yes, it is," said the youngest brother. She found herself in front of a big cave. Around the entrance to the cave, there were a lot of beautiful flowers. "I have never seen such beautiful flowers! How beautiful!" she cried. When night came, the youngest brother showed the bedroom to her. "Please get some sleep, Eliza," he said. Eliza slept in her bed. She dreamed of a fairy that night. The beautiful fairy stood in front of her and said, "Do you want to save your brothers?" "Of course," said Eliza. "Please tell me how to save them." "Then I will tell you what to do. Look at those nettles. You must pick those nettles, wash them in water, and you will have flax. Then you can make coats out of it. You must make 11 coats for your brothers. You must work very hard, but you must not speak at all. If you speak a word, your brothers will die. When you make the coats, throw them over the 11 wild swans. Then the spell will be broken, and they will become men." With that, the fairy disappeared. Daylight came. Eliza jumped out of bed and went outside. She looked around. Then she saw a lot of nettles and a small pond. She picked the nettles and washed them in the pond again and again. That night, her brothers came back to her, but she didn't speak to them. "Eliza, what are you doing?" they said. "Why are you doing that?" They were surprised to see that she kept silent, but soon they found that she was doing it for them. A few days later, one coat was ready, and now she began to make the next coat near the cave. All at once, she heard some dogs barking. She stood up and looked around. Then some big dogs came running towards her. They barked at her. After a while, the king of that country came with his men through the trees. When Eliza looked at the king, she found that he was a good man. The king came to her and said,
"How are you getting along here, beautiful girl?"
Eliza said nothing.
"Come with me,"
said the king.
"You should not stay here."
Then he took her to his palace. He led her into a room, and he gave her beautiful clothes and fine jewels. But Eliza didn't look happy. The next morning, Eliza was looking out of the window. Then the king came in and spoke to her.
"You are the most beautiful girl in this land. You cannot speak now, but you will be able to speak someday. I want you to be my queen."
After a few days, the king married Eliza, and he said to his men,
"This beautiful girl from the forest is the queen of our land."
He was very kind to Eliza, and he did everything to please her. Then Eliza loved him more and more as time went by. She wanted to tell him about her brothers, but she said to herself, "I must not speak, or my brothers will die." She worked hard to make the coats, but when she began to make the 7th coat, she had no more flax. She knew that the nettles grew in the churchyard. She had to get them herself, but she could not go there in the daytime. When night came, she went to the churchyard and took some nettles back with her into the palace. Then she went out every night. One night, one of the king's men was awake. He saw Eliza go out. Then he said to the king,
"The queen goes to the churchyard every night. She must be a witch."
When the king heard this, he was very sad. He couldn't believe it at first, but soon he found that his queen went to the churchyard every night.
"My queen is a witch. Put her in prison,"
said the king. Then she was taken to a cold and dark cell without windows. 10 coats are ready. I must make one more coat, and I will be able to save my 11 brothers, she said to herself. When the sun came up, the king's men said to her,
"Our king will kill you in the open space in front of the palace. Come with us."
Eliza took the 11 coats and went out with them in her arms. All the people in the country came to the palace to see the witch. Then the king said,
"Look at this witch. The fire is ready. We must kill her. Burn her."
"Burn her up! Burn her up!"
shouted the people. Eliza was brought to the fire. Just then, the 11 wild swans came down and stood around her. Eliza quickly threw the 11 coats over the swans. The spell was broken, and 11 young princes stood there. "Now I can speak," said Eliza. "I am not a witch. I am not a bad queen."
"She is not a witch,"
said her brothers. They told them their story. The king came up to Eliza.
"Oh, my beautiful queen, speak to me."
He picked a beautiful red rose and put it in Eliza's hand. All the bells in the palace began to ring. The king and Eliza lived happily ever after. Let dead lions lie. Once upon a time, there lived 4 brothers in a small town near the mountains. They were good friends. 3 of them were very famous scholars in the village, but the youngest brother could not learn anything at all. One day, the 4 brothers were talking with one another.
"We have been studying for many years, but what for?"
the second brother said.
"We know a lot of things, but they are useless if we don't use them,"
answered the eldest brother.
Let's travel to the king's palace and work for our king. We can make a lot of money."
So they went on a journey, but when they had gone a little way, the eldest said,
"One of us, the youngest, is stupid. He only has a kind heart. Nobody can get the king's attention just by having a kind heart, for one must be a scholar. Let him turn back and go home."
Then the second brother turned to the youngest and said to him,
You know this is true. Please go home.
but the third said,
No, don't tell him such a thing. We have been good friends since we were little boys. Let's go together.
The others agreed to this at last, and they came to a forest, and there they found the bones of a dead lion. Then one of the scholars said,
"Here is a good chance to show how much we know. Here lies a dead animal. Let's bring it to life with all we have learned."
The eldest brother said,
"I know how to put together the bones."
The second said,
I can give it skin, flesh, and blood.
The third said,
I can give life to it.
So the first put together all the bones of the dead animal. The second gave the animal skin, flesh, and blood. But while the third was busy putting life into it, the youngest said,
This animal is a lion. It is dangerous to bring it to life. If you do so, he will surely eat every one of us.
The three scholars were very angry.
"You're stupid," they said. "Are you trying to tell us that you know more than we do?"
No, I'm not, the youngest said. Of course, you know much more than I. I'm stupid, but I just feel we are in danger of losing our lives. If you don't agree with me, just wait until I climb up this tree.
After the youngest climbed up the tree, the lion was brought to life. It got up, opened its mouth wide, and ate up the three scholars.
This is the end of Side B.